Hola, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are today, Friday, September 4th, 2020. First, I want to thank all of you who are watching this video, and I also want to thank those of you who have not only subscribed to the channel, but those of you who are continuously sharing the videos, as well as those of you who have begun supporting some of the series that I'm putting out through our PayPal link. I truly appreciate it, and I am forever grateful to you. Now, before we start this video, I will let you know that I'm a little bit under the weather here in Port-au-Prince. It is a little windy, and you guys, for those of you who are very familiar with me, I am very allergic, very sensitive to the changes of the weather. So I will do my very best as far as like speaking and making sure that nothing is coming off a little bit off on this video. So let's begin. For today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue with the series of the Haitian president that I have chosen to bring forth to this channel, and we are continuing with analyzing the president of Haiti serving the second term, Bertrand Aristide. So as we started off, I will continue with my notes, and once we're done with reading the facts, I will jump in and give you my own opinion and my own perspective on things. Let us begin. So now we are analyzing the second term of President Jean-Bertrand Aristide. In January 1997, Aristide registered a new political party, Famille Lavalas, distinct from the organization Politics Lavalas, OPL, which supported René Préval, the previous president. In December 2000, Aristide is elected president of the Republic of Haiti. His government is fighting corruption, trade unionists are assassinated, yet he launches several social programs, agricultural cooperatives, and the construction of many schools. The opposition parties grouped together the Demographic Convergence, joined forces with the Group 184, a group of associations claiming to be a part of a civil society led by businessman André Apped. The United States government has a new administration under the presidency of Bill Clinton. USAID and the International Republic Institute grant $1.2 million to the opposition. Trouble starts for Aristide in 2003 with a multitude of shootings and killings in the Plateau Central. A rebellion began following the assassinations near Gonaïve of a rebel leader by the name of Amio Métayer. The rebels, many former soldiers, launched raids in Plateau Central and in the north of Haiti, executing Aristide supporters. On April 3, 2000, agronome and journalist Jean-Léopold Dominique is also assassinated at his radio station, Radio Haiti Inter. On February 29, 2004, Aristide leaves Haiti aboard an American plane accompanied by security personnel from the American Army. Aristide claims that he was kidnapped. I had a new note. In March 2004, the result of Commission of an Inquiry of Haiti headed by former United States Attorney General Ramsey Clark indicate that the governments of the United States and the Dominican Republic were involved in the supply of weapons and to the training of Haitian rebels. Authorized by the Dominican president Hipólito Mejia Dominguez, these operations were carried out near the border, precisely in an area from which the rebels regularly launched attacks against the installations of the Haitian state. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let us analyze the coup d'etat of 2004. After having taken power for a second term, Aristide was still struggling with the country. Major opponents were against him and his dabbling into their affairs. The United States was still against his power and was silently supporting the rebels. In the year 2004, things took a turn for the worst. Haiti had a major division between people of different social classes, different background, and skin color. The 2004 coup d'etat was organized in major parts by the United States, who quickly installed their own puppet government upon Aristide's departure on February 29, 2004. Now, analyzing and observing. During Aristide's second term, the European nations suspended government-to-government aid to Haiti. Haiti was not receiving any assistance from the World Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank. U.S. Congress had banned all U.S. aid from being channeled to the Haitian government. Aristide is being cornered by France, the United States, and Canada, all whom looked at his nationalist tendency with a very dark eye. Things worsened when in 2003, Aristide asked for France to repay Haiti over $21 billion, which he says is the equivalent of the 90 million gold francs that Haiti was forced to repay upon its revolution that it went in the year 1804. All these incidents, along with the political unrest of the country, pushed the international community to intervene, and Aristide is taken out of Haiti. Strangely, on January 31st and February 1st, 2003, an international conference of Haiti is held in Ottawa, as well as Montreal, located both in Canada. The meetings brings about American, Canadian, French, and Latin American government, all wanting to discuss the future of Haiti, yet none of the Haitian government are present nor were invited. Now, ladies and gentlemen, important dates prior to the coup d'etat of 2004. Let us see. February 1st, demonstration in Port-au-Prince demanding the resignation of President Aristide. February 5th, takeover of Gonaïve by a group of insurgents. February 7th, demonstration of Aristide partisans in Port-au-Prince. February 10th, political opposition and civil society distance themselves from armed insurgency. February 16th, the town of Hinche is seized. February 17th, French Minister of Foreign Affairs Dominique de Villepin calls on the international community to consider sending international aid to Haiti. The United States refuses. February 18th, Guy Philippe is appointed chief of this mission, former police commissioner who happens to be serving times currently in the United States for drug trafficking. February 21st, President Aristide accepts an international plan, but the opposition wants his resignation. February 22nd, Cap Haitian is seized. And February 29th, Aristide is removed from power. Ladies and gentlemen, these constitute in brief part the second notes facts regarding the second terms of the president. Now let me dive in and share my own personal opinion regarding the second term of Aristide in power. When the second term of Aristide, I was not in Haiti. I strongly believe that around these times, if I were in Haiti, I would have been most definitely part of the dead. I was very, very young. Well, not so young. I was 20. But at the time, I was very fiery, just young, you know, understand. And I followed all of these incidents while in the United States. Haiti was the #1 news that you saw in front of the Boston Globes, Boston Herald, the Metro. Haiti was always at the front. It was the front page, like in the early 2004, late 2003. The United States was covering the news of Haiti, but it was all very drastic. Probably I remember people from our workplace at the time, they really felt and they really were under the impression that it was a total war. And I remembered my youngest sister was here in Haiti, and she always said that it was a very, very, very traumatized times for people in Haiti. Now, from my perspective, let's analyze the second term of Aristide when he came into power. I believe that remember, as I said to you, I strongly believe that after Aristide ended up having that first coup d'etat, when he was out of Haiti and he went to the United States, I strongly believe that this is when he understood what politics meant. And this is when the United States probably let him in on, listen, okay, you want to govern, you want to be in Haiti? Well, we hold the shots. We tell you what to do. You are either going to be doing what we tell you or you're not. I don't believe that he understood the in-depths of the controlling powers in Haiti. And he had already alienated himself because, you know, prior to him, so sorry, such a busy street for us today. So prior to him being here in power, he was, giving a lot of like sermons against the elite, against, every major parties really could have backed him up. He really was against that. So it made it so easy, such as like no one cared so much about, the fact that the army was about to give him a coup d'etat. They just wanted him gone. Aristide, let's give credit where credit is due. He's a particular type of dude, very intelligent, if I may add. So I know that he understood clearly how things were done, right? Now, once Aristide came back into power, this is when he changed, right? Now, he wanted to comply. So despite the fact that I think Haiti used to serve 5 terms, he was out for 3. He continued with the 2. And they said, okay, you cannot have a 2-year because in the Haitian Constitution, it's not consecutively, like a president can serve 2 terms, but not consecutively, meaning that you cannot serve 5 years and then another 5 years. You need to give another president the chance and then you come back for another 5 years, which is what he did. But this is when Aristide started to change. This is when Aristide really understood what was behind the presidency. Now, since we are going to analyze him, For those of you who are not familiar, Michel Martelly had a vindictive hatred against Aristide in the early years. He had never been pro Aristide. It was like his nemesis. I remembered attending once or twice. Michel Martelly was a singer, Sweet Mickey, and he would always come to New York and do these, what we say, bal, which are like the disco balls. And he would always take over 30 minutes before and after these parties to rant about Aristide. I'm pretty sure you can find a couple of things online. See, the problem was that a lot of people felt like, he was probably, shouting because, Aristide was ugly and he was just kind of like a singer / comedian, but that's not the truth. The truth of the matter is that when Aristide came back to power and he understood not only the intricacies of the Haitian politics, but he also understood the drug game, he started to dabble in it. And Michel Martelly, who too was also dabbling into the drug game, started to have a major problem with Aristide. Because at the end of the day, the fact that Aristide became the president of Haiti, he had more power at this point of time. Now, from personal opinions from people that I've met in the early years when I first came down to Haiti, a lot of these people told me that they were all, how could I say, like not directly employed from the president Aristide, but sub-employed from other people, but still around the same government. Everybody was doing the, well, I don't want to say everybody, many people were into the drug games around the second term of Aristide, right? See, this is when I say to people that it's very dangerous to give power to someone who never had power. It's very dangerous to let someone who probably had a lot of lack beginning in life started to see and feel that power. Do you understand? I know that we're just, listen, being rich and having a wealthy life doesn't necessarily constitute having money. It's the way that you are brought, right? It's the way that you live a life of abundance. You don't suffer a life of lack. Unfortunately, from the president that I have known in Haiti, all of these presidents comes from a lack mentality. With a lack mentality, now once they are at the head of states and they recognize or they realize the money flow that is going on, they are no longer thinking about the people, nor are they thinking about the population. They are thinking about, damn, I'm sitting on power. Damn, I got money coming. So all that they are now trying to do is take money, because that mentality is a lack mentality, which is exactly, in my opinion, what happened with the president. Because the reality is that Aristide went from being a priest to not only being, well, we are going to have to stay with him, to not only, he got married, right, ended up having children, right? It was too good to be true. Too good to be true. There are many people who lost their lives under his government who didn't even lose their lives under the regime of the Duvalier era. Now, supposedly he was elected democratically, but he already had his plan, because let us not forget that what did he do? Aristide did go and he had an orphanage. And what he did, remember, if you are very familiar with my videos, you understand the mindset like of orphanage here in Haiti. So these kids, I remember clearly in front of the Metro, in front of the Boston Globe, these are all that you saw. You saw children with all type of guns ready to defend Aristide, and they were really, and this is when I understood, and this is when I felt like that man was the devil himself, because this is when I understood that he didn't really create the orphanage because, you know, he wanted, no, he really used a psychology on the Haitian population where he made them feel that he was for them. I'm talking about the impoverished population. He really made these people feel like I was for them. And let's not forget that there's such a distinct, like distant social classes in Haiti that it was easy for these people to believe him, to trust him, to be ready to die for him, which is exactly what took place in the country between the year of 2003 and 2004. I know people who told me that they couldn't even step outside of their houses because of their skin complexion, because you had people who felt, now it was like a total division in Haiti. But all along, that's what Aristide was preaching. Aristide always made the poor people feel like your problems are due to the rich. He would always say in his sermons, if you have a problem, if you can't eat, if you can't feed your belly, turn around and look up the hills. Meaning like, turn around and look at this elite. Turn around and look at this bourgeois. Turn around and look at these rich people that are living the lives. Now, you guys know that I don't take sides for nobody. I'm not going to sit here and say that the rich people didn't see this coming, but I'm going to say that as a president of a country, your task should never be division. Your task should always be the interest of the country. And where and how can the interest of your country be in such division amongst us all about something so ridiculous as the skin complexion, which is very, 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 you know, interesting for the lack of words, because he ended up married to a light-skinned woman. Right? The woman, Mildred Tuyo, is not from the same social class as Aristide. Interesting. There is a particular term that I really, really enjoy using when I'm trying to describe certain people, which is called imbu du pouvoir. I'll write the definition for you in English. Basically, when an individual becomes imbu du pouvoir is when you have tasted power, right? And you become sort of like, it's like power hungry. You have already tasted that power and you no longer want to go back to the ways that you used to be. And to me, in my opinion, I really felt like once he came back, because that was the major problem and the major issue that he had with the then journalist Jean-Dominique, because sadly Jean-Dominique lost his life for a government that he supported. Isn't that ridiculous? Biting the hands that fed you. Jean-Dominique lost his life for a government that he supported. Why? Because he became Aristide's first enemy. When Aristide came back to power, Jean-Dominique realized that the men that he supported, the so-called prince, humble men that he supported, turned around and became the devil. See, Aristide understood after that, okay, these guys are really the guys who hold the power. And I remember specifically on an interview that he did, and that particular interview, I remembered Jean-Dominique was questioning him like he was not even like the president, you know, toe to toe this guy was going with him. And Aristide said to him, bicyclette la gen deux li roule. So he meant to tell him that, you know, and now I understand what Aristide was saying, but Jean-Dominique, being the very straight integrity type of guy that he was, could not understand why now you're dabbling with the drug motherfuckers. Excuse the French. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where, you know, this guy, but what happened is like the same hands that you bite. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like when you say something, he had already showcased his, how can I say, his intention, the way that he felt. So even when he came back, right, what he actually failed to understand is this. The people that he started to align himself with never liked him, and they would have never liked him. The first thing is like some of these people probably looked at him like, you're not from the same social class as us. You're not, we don't really like you like that, right? That was that. The second thing, they probably never forgot the fact that Aristide was kind of like had a vindictive agenda against them. So now the fact that Aristide came back and he won the presidency, it was kind of like, okay, we're going to deal with you, but we still don't like you. That's probably, to me, in my opinion, what he failed to realize is that despite the fact that he wanted to, okay, make sure that, okay, I understand that you guys are holding a certain type of power, let me work with you. But there's a lot of underlying thing also that we don't know, such as the fact that, the drug territory and the drug game was not part of like nobody's agenda. But I'm pretty sure when I started to see that, okay, I see what's really going on. So we got major money coming in and I'm going to get myself in. So that's when he started to piss a lot of people off. That's when he started to probably, move in a certain direction where he was like, I don't want to say infringing, like he was kind of like stopping the flow of other people. And let's not forget that being the president, he had access to allow more, perhaps, leverage than the other guys that were here in Haiti. So this is exactly what took place. And when things started to get worsened, and he didn't really have like the army, because he had dismantled the army. Haiti didn't have an army. He didn't have the Tonton Macoute, but what he had was the kids from Famille C'est la Vie, which was the orphanage that he built. So these are the same kids that went toe-to-toe against, the opposition to fight for Aristide, and the country went into a major shock, a very... so I remember these events clearly. I remembered, as I mentioned to you before, I wasn't here in this country. And it is, I feel like sometimes things happen for the best, because I was just too into politics around the time, and probably too fiery. And you just never know, because it was the time where you never knew where people stood. You never knew who was for and who was against the president. You never knew how the ears, and it was really, thank God. But I learned a lot from this era. I learned a lot from understanding what constitutes being the president of Haiti. I learned a lot from the mistakes that some of these presidents have made. Analyzing President Bertrand Aristide, the very first mistake that he made was to show his cards at too of an early stage. And for the Americans, when we're looking at the fact that Haiti suffered so much, see, the thing with it is like, you can be the president of a country, but the Americans are teaching you that they are holding the power. So even though Aristide was the president of Haiti, they had embargo on embargo, blockage in Haiti. And it's kind of like, you are the president, but you can't make move. You can't really make the changes that you want to make. You can't really do anything. Why? Because you have too many people coming at your throat, and because you have too many enemies, which is very important to know when we're talking about your battles. They're always teaching us how to choose your battles carefully, because a lot of times you don't want to go toe-to-toe with someone who has a lot more power than you. You don't want to go toe-to-toe with someone who's going to teach you that, okay, let me teach you who is holding the rein. Let me hold you by the rein. And all of the presidents that we are going to analyze, one way or the other, they were taught by the United States in great part how not to step over their toes. Now, this is food for thought for the next person or the next people that are thinking of going into election, which is really important, because also the problem that we have here in Haiti is that the Haitian population are a lot more emotional, you know, than rational or practical. You can see that with the choices that they've made over and over and over again. It's kind of like the Haitian population never really think, or maybe they have a lack of trust at this point of anybody, because I don't believe that they really went out to vote even on the IC's second terms. I feel like the Haitian population these days, they don't really want to get involved into politics because it has not served them anything. If you came to Haiti and you run, I don't know how do you say that, a survey, you talk to any and everyone is going to tell you that, listen, we don't really care, we're not really into politics because this is not going to serve us right. We never had a good leader, and we're never going to have a good leader. They chose Aristide thinking that it was going to be a great move. It could have been a great move. It could have been a great move, but unfortunately, Aristide was not a politician. Being a politician is all about understanding your interests. It's all about having an agenda prior to you presenting yourself at the poll and saying what you want to do. It's all about give and take. It's all about the art of diplomacy, right? It's all about charming other people. It's all about making sure that you are going to come and there are certain things that you want to accomplish, so you're going to accomplish them. It's all about identifying your opponent prior to you presenting yourself. You should have done that. And the reality is, one of Haiti's fierce president, who, in my opinion, from research, from reading, from conversing with my dad, was able to do that, was the former Duvalier Papa Doc. Though he was a dictator, if you know the story, or maybe I should include Papa Doc in this document, I think we might want to tip in and talk about him, because he was quite an interesting character as well, for having lead Haiti into until his death, really, right? Because Haiti is not necessarily such a light country that you can take power. And I'm not here to applaud the dictatorship, because at the end of the day, I do feel like his dictatorship wasn't really progressive to Haiti. So, however, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to finish here, because you guys know that I could go on and on and on when it comes to these type of subjects. It's really something that I'm very passionate about. I enjoy listening to, I enjoy Haitian politics. I always feel like some of these things are pretty interesting. However, to me, it's not always interesting, because the end result is never the country. You know, the end result is never the country. And I hope that Haiti is going to have finally different presidents, like president who understands the art of politics, president who can sense and know what the country wants, and president who can go toe-to-toe with the American government. Thank you so much for watching. You know, I know that these are touchy and probably might trigger some people, but I am eager to see the comments, how you guys are going to reply with these videos. Thank you again for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Do not forget that I run Consultation. If you are interested to not only run a business, a project here in the country of Haiti, as well as supporting the channel and our PayPal life.